Well, hi, Artesia First. Pastor Rob here, as you can see. And what I wanted to do here in this video is do a quick response to the survey results that we've received. Right off the bat, just you need to know that this is a personal response. This is my response. Council has looked at your survey responses. But this is not a official council response. They may or may not disagree with some of the things I'm about to say. By and large, I think we're all on the same page, but I haven't given them this video to review and approve yet. So if you have an issue with anything I say, it's just my opinion, not council wide. So just know that, and also I want you to know that I and council are super grateful that you all took the time to fill out the survey. It was really helpful to all of us to understand where you are, and also to get some tips on how we can do church better. So thank you very much for filling out the survey. Really appreciate that. So let's get right into the review of the survey. What I want to do here is just kind of give you a general consensus of what most people were saying in the survey. You know what you said if you filled it out, but you might not have an idea of what other people are saying. So first thing, the nearest and dearest to my heart, this is out of order in terms of the questions in the survey, but first and foremost, nearest and dearest to my heart is the length of the sermon. I found myself going to that question first to see how people responded. Preaching of the word is the most important part of church. I think the Reformed typically think that. So the responses to that were the majority said the length of the sermon is good. Don't go longer. Don't go shorter. Keep it right where it's at. 33 people said it's good, or maybe even go a little bit longer. 23 people, not an insignificant amount, 23 people said it's a little bit long. I think a couple of those said way too long, and a couple said too long. So 33 to 23, the majority are saying keep it where it's at. If I were to reduce the length of the sermon, in theory, those people who said this length is good are now going to move into you need to preach longer. So in the interest of having the most people be happy, the length of the sermon needs to stay the way it is. If I were to reduce the length, then more people than not would say this is too short. So I'm encouraged to hear that. I'll talk a little bit later, actually right now, about that. Yeah, so that's the way that worked. Correlated with that, in some of the comments, I saw a few people mention that the length of the sermon is great. Why don't you cut down other parts of the service so we can get to a 1 hour service? I think for a lot of people, that's kind of just traditionally what you're used to. Church being an hour and 5 minutes. I've heard that from a lot of people. And so my response to that is I completely respect that opinion, that desire. I understand that you want to have a predictable amount of time at church. You're used to church being an hour. I understand that. I'm not saying that's wrong. But what I am saying is that that's not a priority for me personally. Council, again, might disagree. They can tell me to change this. But me personally, getting out of church in an hour, fitting into that time block is not a priority to me because, and here's why, because Sunday is the Lord's day. Right? It's not the Lord's hour. God doesn't call us to just spend an hour. He calls us to set apart all of Sunday. And so I think the best way that we can benefit as Christians from the Lord's Day is to enter into the Lord's Day with a posture in which we're saying, God, I'm giving you all this whole day. I'm not giving you from 9:30 to 10:30. I'm giving you this whole day. Please work in my life. Please speak to me. Please lead me. Please show me things in your word. Please help me to sing. Please guide me in the gym as I'm greeting people and having coffee. Please guide me in catechism classes. I'm learning more and responding to questions. Just kind of freeing ourselves up to allowing the Lord to lead us. And I think we can best do that by saying, we want to be respectful of people's time. Church is not going to be 4 hours long, but we don't have a hard and fast rule of when we're getting out of church. Typically, that's historically been about an hour and 15 minutes. But we're kind of gonna land in that hour and 15 range typically. Sometimes, if there's communion or something, we might go in an hour and a half. Other times, if not much is going on, it might be an hour and 5 minutes. But in order to allow the Holy Spirit movement to work in our lives, I don't feel convicted to really land in that hour time block. Again, this is not a council thing. This is Rob Golding. And then kind of correlated with that, with the preaching, I'm really encouraged to hear that people are okay with longer sermons. You're listening to twice as much preaching as you did before. And part of the reason for that is because preaching the word is central. That's where we hear from God, and that's where our lives change. And so that's the thinking there. Okay, moving on. Lots of people love the organ. You might be surprised to hear that lots of people also ask for contemporary music. I'd say generally probably about 60-40. 60% of the people said love the organ, don't change it. About 40 said I want some contemporary music, either all contemporary or contemporary mixed in. That's just to get a pulse on the congregation. We're not going to, necessarily pay people to come in. If the Lord doesn't send us guitarists, we're not going to have guitarists. But we like to hear that feedback just so people know that, this is a diverse body where there's different preferences to music style. And so the point I want to give you there, again, my opinion, is to have your musical preference. That's wonderful, but also recognize that other people have different musical preferences when it comes to worshiping the Lord. None of us worship the Lord the way that they did it in the Bible in terms of music. They didn't have organs in the Bible, and so just respect the fact that people may differ with you, see worshiping God as the most important aspect of that, not the style of music. Okay, again, general thing that I saw is a lot of people, most people are really, really happy with what's going on in the church. Of course, individuals had individual critiques, but generally speaking, people at our Teacher First are very happy with the services, with the music, the preaching, the facilities, the programs we have, the committees we run. Generally speaking, people are very, very happy. If I had to pick one critique, probably the one that I saw kind of most frequently, but by no means the majority of people, but the most frequent critique I saw is that we as a church may appear to the community to be kind of friendly, but also isolated. So, people in the community might see us on Sunday and we might just seem kind of like an isolated group. We don't look mean or unfriendly, but we don't really reach out into the community very much, aside from things like trunk or treat. So that's just something that's, I think, helpful to know about your brothers and sisters, the way that we're all kind of perceiving ourselves. And it may be a room for us to grow as a church. And this is something that council has been talking about. How can we reach out into the community? And so it's good. If this survey came back and said we're completely perfect, then that'd be a bad sign, because it means we're very prideful people. And we're not. We're self-evaluating. That's great. Something that a lot of people wanted, more connection, potluck kind of gathering type events. So we had a potluck last Sunday. I had a wonderful time there, not just because it was Pastor Appreciation Day, but just because it was wonderful to spend time and eat a meal together. Lots and lots and lots of people wanted to see more of that. So personally, I'm very interested, and I've been praying a lot about maybe starting up something like a Wednesday night connection again, where I'll do a little Bible study and we'll have a meal together. We're also talking about maybe doing more potlucks. Again, this is just me. We haven't voted on anything, but I think generally we as a church are all looking to do that more, and so I'm pushing in that direction. And I'm not pushing against anybody. I think we're all on the same page there, so that's great. Pray that we'll be able to do that. Another thing that a lot of people asked for is more youth events, more youth programs. We want to see more kids at the church. It shouldn't be a surprise to you. Correlated with that is we'd like to see more preschool integration. We'd like to see the church and the preschool doing more stuff together. And actually, just a few minutes ago, I was talking with the preschool director saying that, and she was saying the exact same thing. She'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. You'd love to see that. It's just a matter of the work. It takes a lot of work to do these things. So we're moving in that direction. Everybody, I think, is of the same mind. We want to see more preschool integration, and that's great. Related to that, I saw a few positive comments about a associate pastor. A lot of people said, I heard you want to hire a pastor. Actually, we all voted last December as a congregation to hire an associate pastor, and everybody that everyone that commented on that said, yep, I'm for that. I want an associate pastor. So we're continuing down that path. The search committee is still searching. We are having active conversations with candidates. So be praying that we find an associate pastor. And that's related because the associate pastor's primary focus will be youth. We want to have somebody here who can help us run youth programs, who can be here for the youth so that when parents bring their kids, there's someone dedicated to their children. Children are incredibly important, and we want to have our budget reflect that. We think kids are important. Our budget should reflect that. We need to pay somebody who's solely focused full-time, not solely, but mostly focused full-time on youth. Another thing I heard a lot, saw a lot, read a lot was a connection table. We want to have a connection table again. We're moving in that direction. Somebody filled out a really great survey, and I'm going to be contacting you about maybe helping us run that connection table. So for that one person, I'm coming for you in a good way. And finally, another thing is that a lot of people commented on communion once a month being a good thing. Not a lot of negativity, if any, about, or negative comments, I should say, about communion. So those are all kind of the general consensus. There's a lot of them. One person said they didn't like this. One person said they liked that. I've left all those comments off the table. What I've brought to you here in this survey is the major things, the things that I saw 4 and 5 and 10 and 12 times looking through the surveys. Those are the comments. And then in terms of your multiple choice answers, again, people were overwhelmingly positive. The vast majority of people, 78% of people said that the overall worship experience is great, 4 or 5. The worship music, that was about 70% of the people said it was great or excellent. Ease of worship, about the same. Preaching content was very encouraging to me. That's like 98% said it was very good or excellent in terms of content. I've already talked about the length. Comfort while worshiping, we're in the 88 percentile for excellent. Facilities, the same thing. So again, as I said, generally really positive. Now, one more thing. I want to close with this statement, this thought. This survey is also a really good indicator to me and to council of not just opinions about the church, but where we are spiritually. If a lot of people are coming into this survey saying, the church isn't meeting my needs, I'm dissatisfied, I don't like the people here. If it's very negative and self-serving, that's a kind of a highlight to me and to council and say, oh, maybe we have a spiritual issue. I'm just so encouraged to see that that's not the case. Most people are saying, here's how I can serve the church. Here's ways that I'm seeing problems, but I can individually, personally address these problems. It's just so encouraging me to see a team attitude where people are saying we're not perfect. There's room to grow, but we're not pointing the finger saying you need to make it grow, but we're saying how can we make it grow. So I just want to end this video just complimenting you and encouraging you, Artesia First, for your heart for the church and how you recognize that this is not our church, this isn't our building, these aren't our programs, but it's God's church, and we exist here as His body to serve Him. So great job. Keep it up. Press on towards the goal for the upward call of the prize of the fellowship with the Lord. And just know that I, as your pastor, am encouraged by you, and I'm praying for you, and I'm grateful for you. All right, thanks for watching.